Audience, welcome to Viewpoint from overseas. I'm your host Faraz Darvesh. Today we have several different topics with us on the table with a special guest. Today I have Mr. Raza Rumi with me via Skype. He is joining us from New York. Raza, as many of you probably know or should know actually, Raza is a author, policymaker, he is a political analyst, journalist. He is currently a faculty member at Cornell Institute of Public Affairs. So Raza, thank you for joining us, and along with Raza, I have Misbah Azam, our very own Misbah Azam, Dr. Misbah Azam. We've got several different topics with us. What is going on in Pakistan? Is Mr. Nawaz Sharif totally out of Pakistani politics? Yes or no? And then we'll discuss what is going on in U.S., Pakistan, Afghan, and then India relations. Is Pakistan, why do people in Afghanistan, in India, and then some policymakers in U.S. have lots of complaints for Pakistan? Raza, let me begin with you. What is going on in Pakistan? Is Mr. Nawaz Sharif totally out? Is there a military conspiracy? Or is it a judicial dash military conspiracy?
Thank you so much. It's always good to reconnect, and thanks for inviting me. In Pakistan, so nothing new is happening. I mean, this is a moment that Nawaz Sharif has seen before and Pakistanis have seen before. So technically speaking, he was ousted 4 times, in the past, and last July was the 4th time when a Supreme Court order disqualifying him to hold a public office led to his resignation and then ousting. But over the last 10 months or so, what has also emerged is that the room for him to make a comeback has also been sort of narrowed down to the extent that two days before the Apex Court has declared him as disqualified for life to hold a public office. So which basically means that legally speaking, yes, he is out of politics, but whether he's actually out of politics, I don't really think so, because he still is very popular, especially in the Punjab province, which is the largest province, and the fact that a lot of his party members and party supporters are still loyal to him or still respect him. And unlike the last 2-3 times, they have not defected as yet. So, which basically means that he will have a role in the future arena, but not directly in the electoral game or even in terms of holding a public office in the next election. So, this is a clear case of political engineering, which this time has been done by the Judiciary. And many observers in Pakistan say that the military is supportive of this whole exercise, and in fact the army chief's statement to this effect was also clear when he met some journalists a few weeks before, in which he said that that the army was supporting the judiciary totally. Okay. So I will not call it a conspiracy as such, because to prove and establish a conspiracy, it's a very tough job. But definitely, the two powerful institutions of the state, the judiciary and the military, are surely against Nawaz Sharif.
Yeah, so Raza, the PMLN narrative is that this is a conspiracy against us, and now we are few months away from elections, hopefully few months away from election, and Nawaz Sharif could very well, or PMLN could very well play this as a victim card to gather votes in the next election. So does this perhaps go in their favor?
I think it does. So far, it has gone in Nawaz Sharif's favor. You see, the issue here is, let me remind you of the history of Nawaz Sharif's rise as a popular leader. We all know that he was actually himself a product of the military engineering in the 1980s, when he was actually supported and made a minister in the Punjab government, and then he rose to the office of chief minister, and as a major sort of opponent of Benazir Bhutto, who was the then politician not out of favor with the army. And because of all the Bhutto baggage.
Right.
So, but Nawaz Sharif's popular, credentials started when he was fired for the first time by Ghulam Ishaq Khan, the president, then president in 1993. And Nawaz Sharif was asked to resign, and he came on TV and he said, "I'm not going to take dictation, nor am I going to resign." And I think a day later, Ishaq Khan fired his government and the parliament.
Right.
And thereafter, Nawaz Sharif was himself quite surprised by the crowds who cheered at him as he toured Punjab. And, that was the start when he gained popular sort of, support. By then, he had been working on infrastructure projects
right.
like, the motorway and other urban projects, and that also were very popular in the Punjab and still remain so. That's his brand.
So, Misbah, let me take it over to you. Tell us, as Raza in the end mentioned, that Nawaz Sharif is still a popular leader in Punjab, and Punjab is a 60% of Pakistan, and his brother has been leading Punjab. What is really going on in the family politics, and then if they were to win Punjab back again, will Shehbaz Sharif be the next Prime Minister?
Okay, who will be the next Prime Minister is, we have yet to see how Nawaz Sharif and his party would perform in the election. But the question is that what is popularity in the parliamentary system? Parliamentary system is predominantly run by the electables. And this time, and it works like that, if you remove the electable, your popularity goes with it, because people vote certain people of the region, so, and this is common in the parliamentary system. And basically this time, and I fully agreed with Raza, I mean, I'm not disputing on anything he said. What is going on nowadays and who is doing it, let's not worry about it, but it seems that it is hard work is going on to take more people from the PMLN.
So you're saying horse trading?
It would be horse trading, threats, it would be
this
incentives.
So you're saying Nawaz Sharif will be further victimized via horse trading?
That is the thing we are going to see.
So you're saying a Operation Midnight Jackal 2.0?
Well, actually, it is worse than that this time, because you are seeing it is happening, and now there are. Because see, the thing is that it seems now that the best thing for the de facto rulers in Pakistan is that Pakistan will not have a popular leadership. So if Imran Khan thinks that he would be all in all, it's not going to happen.
So are you saying hung parliament?
Hung parliament with independents who can be threatening the government all the time. We will come out if you don't help us.
So then this is a derailing of democracy.
It is derailed. Democracy is already derailed. I would really like Raza to make comment.
Raza, Misbah brought up some good points. Are we gonna witness Operation Midnight Jackal 2.0? Or are we already witnessing it? Number two is this a beginning of derailing of democracy?
Yes, I think in many ways it is, the ouster of Nawaz Sharif on a mere technicality, and then, the kind of mobilization that we are seeing of the religious right, particularly the Barelvi groups, and then recently we saw some members of the PMLN who have left jumped ship. I mean, are all typical signs of how the democratic process is manipulated to suit the ends of the powerful establishment. But also while those sort of moves and strategies are at work, let me also add that this time it has been remarkable in many ways that the efforts to achieve a desired outcome after firing Nawaz Sharif have not been achieved. And some of those signs of that are that Nawaz Sharif remained the leader of the party for a long time, even after his ouster, until the court totally clamped down and said you can't even hold a party office. Then the number of defections has been very low. I mean, compared to what was the process or the past experience. And number three, that despite all the efforts, the PMLN voter and the PMLN, even mid-level leaders and are pretty much backing Nawaz Sharif, and that is why he has been holding successful and rather large rallies across the Punjab and also outside Punjab. So there is something very interesting here going on, which is to say that Pakistan is not the same country as it was in the 1980s or 1990s. I mean, first of all, it's far more urbanized, and because of the digital revolution, people are far more connected via social media. So even if you black out Nawaz Sharif or have a campaign of propaganda on mainstream TV channels, which is happening now, there are alternative spaces on social media where Nawaz Sharif's narrative gets, aired, and there has been a growing sympathy wave as well. So even if people were not very happy with Nawaz Sharif's performance in the last 3-4 years, they have felt sympathetic to his cause because they see that his ouster was somewhat unfair. Because you see, there was a whole for an entire year, the focus was Panama Papers and his properties and his money laundering, ill-gotten wealth, tax evasion. But ultimately, none of that became the reason for his ouster. At the end of the day, a very minor technicality, which is also legally questionable, was used to throw him out. So that engineering is not working. But as Misbah said, and I agree with him, the ideal situation for the establishment would be a hung parliament where no party is in a major position to form the government and they have to rely on independent, smaller parties, and a weak coalition emerges. But you see, as they say, there's many a slip between the cup and the lip. So in the next few months, we are 3 to 4 months away from the election. So we will see how far will that be achieved, because as for the reports from Pakistan, especially Punjab, are concerned, the PMLN still is in a position to win the majority of seats from the Punjab, and Punjab has 148 seats in the parliament.
So Raza, there are plenty of conspiracy theories always floating around in Pakistan, and in my recent trip to Pakistan, I heard a new conspiracy theory. Let me just throw it out to you. The new conspiracy theory is that the power will shift from Nawaz Sharif family to Shehbaz Sharif family, and Shehbaz Sharif family have already made a hidden deal with the establishment, and hence PMLN will still win, but run by Shehbaz Sharif.
Yes, so that's actually not so much of a conspiracy theory, because it is already happening. If you remember, right after Nawaz Sharif was ousted, he was advised to name his brother as the successor. He did that as well for 48 hours, and then he changed. So this has always been a theme, even in the 1990s, in his second tenure, the military wanted Nawaz Sharif to hand over the reins of power to his brother. And when Nawaz Sharif was ousted in a coup and arrested, reportedly his brother said that he did not know about Nawaz Sharif's plan to fire Musharraf. So Shehbaz Sharif is seen as a better version of Sharif's, and the military is happy to work with him. But the question here is very problematic, because the popular politics or the vote bank that exists in the Punjab is for Nawaz Sharif, not Shehbaz Sharif. Shehbaz Sharif is a competent administrator. I mean, it's all relative in Pakistani terms. He has delivered on many projects. He keeps the bureaucracy under tight leash, etc. So he's quite popular on that front. But as a popular national level leader, it is Nawaz Sharif who is the vote puller, and he's the one who gets the votes mobilized. So Shehbaz Sharif will be very careful in handling this issue, because if he totally abandons his brother, the chances of him winning the election and coming in as the Prime Minister are limited. Because also in Pakistan, it would not be seen if the brother is fighting his brother. That's not looked favorably in our culture. But at the same time, the power will shift towards the Shehbaz Sharif family over time, and there is no question about that. But whether it will be a sustainable thing, because at the end of the day, even after 5 years
Right.
or 4 years, the PML will have to go to polls.
Okay.
And once again, Nawaz Sharif and his daughter Mariam, who apparently is now the new crowd puller, will be required for that politics to go on. And then, you know, you must remember that they come from a very conservative, well-knit family where differences exist, but at the end of the day, the elder brother.
Right. It's all within the family. They are not exposed, and then, you know, the respect for the elder brother exists. Misbah, what you?
Yeah.
And then I need to move to the next topic.
You ask this question, sometimes you make this comment about that why some people supported Iftikhar Chaudhry and later on they regret. Yes, sure, some of them regretted. I supported Iftikhar Chaudhry also, not because Iftikhar Chaudhry was a great guy or anything, but the way he was thrown out from the Supreme Court by a dictator, that had to stop. Still, Nawaz Sharif supporter, which Raza is talking about, lot of people have a similar argument. This is the time you either give up everything in the hand of the establishment, as Raza mentioned, even the media has, and we see it, and or you hate him, but support him at this time at least, so that this.
So all those democracy supporters are with Nawaz Sharif only to save democracy, not Nawaz Sharif. This is what you're saying.
Sharif, exactly, because people
understand.
are concerned with the democracy.
Now I want to move to the next topic, and let me begin with you, Raza. What is really going on with our neighbors? India been against us. We all know the history. Now the new Afghan government has been against us. In the beginning, Ashraf Ghani had a different narrative. Now he holds a different narrative. Is the U.S. policy towards Pakistan going through the route of Kabul? Is Kabul now a checkpoint where Pakistan, U.S. policy towards Pakistan will be checked?
Yes, I think that is very much the case. Our relationship with Afghanistan, as you know, is definitely perhaps at the lowest of the points in recent weeks. I mean, you know, the Prime Minister was there recently, so that has kind of cooled things a little bit, but the fundamental problems remain. The fundamental issue, as you know and everyone knows, is that Pakistan is very happy to work with an Afghan government of any kind, as long as that government is not favorable or friend of India. It is very simple. Afghanistan has to be saved from Indian influence in the conventional security thinking in Pakistan, because if India gains a foothold in Afghanistan, then Pakistan's military and strategic community says that Pakistan would be vulnerable on the eastern and western sides. So, you know, that's the unfortunate part, that our policy is so India-centric and seen through the lens of the threat of India, that we forget the larger issues which surround that. And that has also been the case, that and India is not giving up, because it has its own reasons to get a foothold. One of the key reasons there is that, you know, when the Taliban ruled Afghanistan in 1990s, a lot of militants, the Kashmiri militants, found space in Afghanistan. They operated from there. So so India says it will not allow Afghanistan to become this territory for rogue terrorists. I mean, that's the official line. But another thing is also at work, and which is the access to Central Asian markets and Central Asian energy reserves. And there India has been somewhat successful, you know, despite our efforts and our myopic thinking. So the construction of Chabahar port in Iran has now diverted a lot of trade between India and Afghanistan to that port. And India has also gained access to Central Asia through that port. So Pakistan is no longer the stumbling block which has been for decades.
Raza, let me ask you this. As a Pakistani, or if I were sitting in the establishment, I would go through the anxiety. My eastern border is being unsafe for the last 70 years. Now India has an influence in Afghanistan, so my western border is also becoming unsafe, and I have the sitting government in Afghanistan being sheltering the TTP, the Fazlullah group, backed by Indians, what Pakistan claim at least. that is backed by India and the Afghan intelligence. So now my western border is also unsafe, and then I have Kulbhushan Yadav coming in from the port of Chabahar. So now the south western border is also somewhat unsafe. So if I'm sitting here and if I were to come and ask you that, Raza, what should we do? We have India surrounding us, and now the Washington is also taking the same line what India wants US or the Washington to take. What is the solution for Pakistan? What should be our policy now?
Well, the solution is very clear. I mean, the thing is that why do we have to either be sworn enemy of India or its subjugated satellite state? I mean, Pakistan is a powerful nuclear nation, and it should, foster better ties with all the neighbors, including India. It should open up trade with India, benefit from the growing Indian economy and a big market there. And similarly, it should benefit from Iran's energy resources and the Central Asian resources. The fundamental problem of our foreign policy is that it is very one-dimensional. And, in the 21st century, the age of these hard-won battles on ground and on the seas is over. It is the age where economics and technology are defining national strength. And if we are to trade with our neighbors and within the region, we are going to grow much stronger.
Right.
And so that's one side. And I think, yes, India allegedly has been supporting the TTP militants. I mean, it has been supporting the Baloch separatists, for example. There's a spy, as you mentioned, caught by the Pakistani authorities. But you see, the whole issue here is that no one is saying that we should not assert our independence and our autonomy, but we must not be in a constant state of battling.
Right.
But the American angle that you mentioned, the US, you see, the US is also flustered and frustrated. The Afghan war is the longest running war that the US has waged in its recent history. And it's going nowhere. Despite whatever is said here in the American media, situation on ground is that nearly half the country is under the control of direct or indirect control of the Taliban, and the rest of the half of the country is vulnerable because the moment the US pulls out and withdraws its funding, Afghan government and army are going to crash.
They are going to collapse,
So the US wants a stability there. It also wants an Indian role there, because of the China threat, and Pakistan is now totally in
right. So,
China. So that's the
Misbah, let me take it over to you. What many say, policymakers, that okay, and I think what Raza is proposing as well, that hey, let's put the issues on the shelf. Let's put Kashmir issue, Siachen issue, all those issues on the shelf. Let's talk trade with India. Let's open up with the trade. Now the question becomes, if I were to talk to anybody who supports the establishment narrative, their narrative is we Pakistanis are not doing the aggression. It is India, the Modi government, the BJP, the Hindutva is doing the aggression against us. They are involved in Balochistan. They are sending Kulbhushan Yadav. They are sheltering Fazlullah, who kill our kids, who has slaughtered our soldiers in Afghanistan. So it is not us who's not opening up the trade. And I actually had a very candid conversation with Javed Jabbar Sahib in Karachi when I was visiting, and his narrative was that it is India, it is not us who is derailing the talks. We want unconditional, uninterrupted talks. So he said the very important key aspect is we want unconditional, uninterrupted talks with India, but it is India who wants to interrupt the talks by taking the excuse of Pathankot, by taking the excuse of Uri, and they are the aggressors via Balochistan and also sheltering Fazlullah.
Well, if I were sitting with Senator Javed Jabbar, I would ask him the question, very simple, that why India should talk with us. Why India should talk with Pakistan, what stakes they have in Pakistan, stability. Last week's show, that was my argument. Chabahar port, we created Chabahar port for India. I mean, pretty much what Raza
by said. Not giving the route to India, to Central Asia.
If they give the route to India, suppose if now corporate India is relying on Pakistan's stability, millions of dollars relying on Pakistan.
Their revenue stream is through Pakistan.
If Afghanistan is doing that, why India would not talk to Pakistan. And don't put the things in shelf. Just keep talking. You don't have to say that this or this. You don't have to do that, this or this. Going back to Raza's example, that being a satellite.
Understand. But this is all done. I'm talking about now. Now the situation is we have Chabahar port. So I agree with you. Why should they talk to you? But the question is, how should we solve this current issue?
Well, now when military controls the diplomacy, okay, these problems will come. Okay, now we are in a very bad shape. India is growing in economy. Pakistan is not growing as much as. Pakistan is fully relying on China's CPAC. Okay. Fine, it may be helpful, but it may not be helpful over time. Because you cannot have an enemy all over. Even China is telling us to go make your troubles, fix your troubles with United States.
Okay, Raza, closing remarks from you. What should we do in this situation where, as Misbah mentioned, that India has least stakes in Pakistan, their corporate sector does not depend on Pakistan, their revenue stream is not coming from Pakistan, hence the corporate sector of India can't influence Modi government to go and negotiate with Pakistan. So why should India negotiate with Pakistan?
No, I think that, I want to respond to your earlier comment as well. You see, it is true. I mean, no one is assuming that India is all a peace-loving dove. I mean, current Indian government has a very aggressive posture against Pakistan, and it's driven by religious nationalism also. All of that we know. And all of that is a challenge to deal with. But you see, the thing is that we don't have to put Kashmir or Siachen on back burner. There is a way which is known as diplomacy. So even Musharraf, who was the army chief in the 2000s, was carrying on diplomacy with India. He even reached a solution to the 4-point formula on Kashmir, which was close to be signed off until he was fired by that, during that whole turmoil of 2007 and, the movement triggered by Chief Justice's removal. And many now say that the elements within the military were involved in that whole anti-Musharraf movement to get him out because he was going to make this big blunder or compromise on India. So the thing is that we have to think of the long term. Do we want a long-term future where nukes, tactical nukes and constant threat of war is endangering our kids? Or do we think of a more peaceful and prosperous region that benefits the youth both in Pakistan, India and elsewhere in South Asia? So that's one point. The other one, what Misbah Sahib is very rightly saying, that corporate, the business lobbies don't have a stake, and definitely, but surprisingly, the business lobbies in Pakistan have been wanting trade with India, and Nawaz Sharif has been echoing their sentiment. And one of the reasons that Nawaz Sharif is out today, one of the key reasons is that he is seen as this threat to national security defined by the army, because the army wants constant, suspicion and battle with India, and Nawaz Sharif, therefore, his views of having trade with India or normalization with India are not acceptable.
Okay, Raza, thank you so much. I think this is a very long topic and we will need maybe another session in upcoming months or so. Raza, thank you so much for joining. Misbah, thank you so much for joining. Our audience, keep watching Viewpoint from overseas. Send us your feedback, your inputs. We'll try to bring in more topics based on your inputs. Thank you. Goodbye.